your guide be with the officers, and the firemen, and all of that. Those folks stick their lines out for us every day. You've already got 72. It's coming. And that's about, I think on the outside of the wall was 30 something. That is just ungodly to me. Dear God, just thank you for, again, for letting us meet here. And may we walk out that door, knowing that each one of us done our best for this county that we're about. Ask these things in your name, Jesus Christ, our Lord and Savior. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Texas flag, I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Okay, I'm going to explain myself, my mask. CDC guidelines still say that we should, in this protection for you, if I wear a mask. It's not that everybody needs to wear a mask. It's a personal decision to wear a mask. We still need to do our social distancing, which we're doing in here today. So that's just explaining myself and why I'm there wearing a mask. So I wanted to show this real quick. See these? Oh, Craig, you can come up into this chair if you like. These were done by Price Daniel inmates, and they have done these for, I think they did 20 signs, and they're going to be going throughout different entities and throughout the county. So there's different ones. They did a great job. They did them in about a week. They airbrushed them. So I just wanted to show how. Looking forward to really working with our warden when we get through with all of this.
Is that my packet? I guess.
I don't know. I think that was yours.
This one.
That one was.
Was that yours?
Okay, at this time, any person with business for the court not scheduled on the agenda may speak to the court. No formal action will be taken on these items at this meeting. Each speaker will be limited to 3 minutes. Is there anybody that wants to speak on a non-agenda item? In precinct project schedule and staffing, anything that is not on the agenda that we need to be going to bring up anything? Yeah, that was the old business there. Okay, so do we have any line item transfers or budget amendments or accounts payable? We'll go ahead and
We
get
have
those.
payables. No line item transfers or budget,
Okay.
but we do have accounts payable, 887,382.71.
Make a motion to pay the bills.
All in favor of paying the bills? All right. All right, now that one's over, let's go to court to discuss and consider possibility of requirements from the Office of Court Administration. I believe you've all gotten the COVID-19 operating plan for the clicker tab here to enter Texas County Judiciary. This is something that came down from the Office of Court Administration. And they have guidances that they put out. They put out at least 9 guidances, and they tie in with the Supreme Court's emergency orders, which has put out at least 12 emergency orders. And so with that, this template is something that they have said that shall be done. There is no you might. You shall.
Yeah, go back. No, you're seeing it. Where you-
Oh, okay.
should have just hollered at me. I'm sorry.
Okay. You good?
Yes, sir.
All right, just want to be sure. All right, so if you've looked through here, you've seen that, like general, number one, all judges will comply with the emergency orders issued by the Supreme Court of Texas and Court of Criminal Appeals, including conducting in-person proceedings and according to the guidance. Then it goes into social distancing there. All persons not from the same household who are permitted in court building will be required to maintain social distancing of at least 6 feet, which we are all trying to do anyway. Hygiene. This is something new. Hand sanitizer, and then there's a flyer they want you to put out. So when we were looking at early on getting dispensers set everywhere, we were able to get 2 at that time. I think it's going to be even harder to get now. Screening. When individuals attempt to enter, not the courtroom, the court building, someone will ask the individuals if they are feeling feverish, have a cough, shortness of breath, have been in close contact with someone confirmed to have COVID. When they attempt to enter the building, whoever it is will use an infrared thermometer to determine the temperature of the individual. Inmates being transported from the jail will be screened. Staff who are screening individuals entering the court building will be provided personal protective equipment, including whatever we decide or whatever is decided. Face coverings. All individuals entering the court building will be required to wear face coverings at all times. You can bring your own, but individuals who will be required to be in the court building for over an hour will be provided surgical masks and required to wear them while in the court building if the supply is available. Cleaning court building, cleaning staff will clean the common areas of the court building so that common spaces are cleaned at least every however many hours. Court building cleaning staff will clean the courtrooms between every hearing, between morning and afternoon proceedings, and at the end of each day the courtroom is used. Court building cleaning staff have been provided cleaning supplies shown to be effective with this coronavirus, and they've been properly trained with cleaning techniques. That's pretty, you shall. There are no, you might. I can tell you that Judge Armstrong are staying in contact, and he is working on a plan that best fits us.
Mhm.
He's also working on a plan, that same plan that will comply with OCA. We don't know for sure that we have to do this, but if we do have to if we have to go to this extent, it'll have to be in place by June 1st. Now, there is some clarification that he's gotten, and he's still working on getting more clarification. So there is not an operating plan in place yet. And as you can see, it's courtroom directives that have been put out to the whole courthouse. So it's still being looked at. I'm not asking for a vote today. I'm giving you information on what may be coming down. We always talk about unfunded mandates,
There we go.
requiring us to hire somebody to monitor everybody that comes in, which would mean that we would have to lock down all the doors but one. And so, because then if you had all 5 doors open, you have to hire somebody for each of those doors.
5 people.
Yeah, so that, and then the cleaning staff, we would have to have hire somebody on part-time, temporary part-time, to cover the hours that our cleaning person is not on duty here, which would be the afternoons. So,
Maybe we need to change our hours.
change our hours to her
No,
hours.
hers.
Hers.
Mhm.
Well, if you do that, I was thinking about that as well. If you do that, there are things that she does when nobody's here,
I understand
vacuuming and all of that. So it's a possibility.
that. That's do what my wife does. Pick feet up.
Yeah. So we're getting more clarification on that.
Mhm.
I just wanted you to be aware that this has come down. This is not us. This is the Office of Court Administration, which is hand in hand with the Supreme Court. So Like I said, there's no vote, but what are y'all's thoughts on any of this? Any thoughts?
One little step at a time, they're taking all of our rights away.
Exactly.
Now, but we shall, by June first, whatever comes up, I
Sure.
understand that,
Right.
but I will never agree with it.
I can tell you that I do not agree with the majority of this in here either.
Because they finally get it to where that we'll be like a socialist country, then communist country, where we depend on the government to tell us when to eat,
That's right.
take a drink, who we can speak to, when we can go somewhere. And I'm sorry, they can mandate it, but they can't make me agree with it.
Sure.
And that's just, as in Bill Chris says, my 2 cents.
I appreciate that, and I agree with you. We're a free country. We don't need to go to the point where we're not a free country. I don't want to be 1984.
No.
Orwell's 1984, not the year 1984.
Lots of people give their lives so we have a free country.
Absolutely.
And it's sad that it even remotely has come even close to this.
Sure.
And I don't know where it's headed.
It don't look like it's headed in the right place.
No, it's not. It's not. But
Well, I think there's hope,
there is hope.
because if you'll look at what happened just a week ago with someone who was put in jail
Mm-hmm.
for violating an order,
Mhm.
shortly after the fines and the confinement were taken out of there,
Yes.
because it's too far.
Unconstitutional.
Yes.
Hmm.
So hopefully it will back off the way that did.
Well, we can only hope so.
Sure.
Pray to God above it does, because, I mean, if this is not addressed in 10 years, we will be a communist country.
Well, I can tell you that our judge does not necessarily agree with all of that. There are other judges that don't agree with all of this. They believe it goes against the Constitution.
We can just go back to some of them rhymes and riddles.
Mhm.
You give them an inch, they'll take it as 9 miles.
Sure.
I think they went over a mile this time and just shut it off, you know? And when they show up out there with their guards and all that kind of stuff, I guess you change your mind. Until then,
Hope it doesn't get to that
we
point.
ought to know if we're going, it's work. And, I ain't seen a killing up here yet, so.
We're not going there.
So Dan,
Yes, ma'am.
so when they pass other things, we have the option of basically sending in a countywide resolution or something from the county, basically kind of protesting this
Sure.
thing. Is there a way to disagree with the OCA and say we don't want to do this? We feel like that's a
Sure. I
taking
understand.
our rights away.
Right. I don't know for sure that there is, something I can look into. We've got a little bit of time until June 1st, so, that's something we can definitely look into. And if we need to do that resolution
Obviously,
next
there's
week, we
parts
can.
of that would be beneficial.
Sure,
But there's a lot of that is very extreme.
exactly, yes. We're requiring you to wear a mask when nobody else is required to wear a mask. You know, private businesses can require people to wear a mask, but, you know, and I think you have to wear a mask when you go get a haircut. But to require somebody to wear a mask in a courthouse is a little bit of a push, I think, so. But I'll check into that to see if we can do some type of resolution that say we don't agree with that. So, if the court wants to go there, see if the court wants to vote on something like that, yeah. So,
The thing about it is they're totally ignoring clinical studies about masks. They weren't trying to find out if it was COVID-19 or otherwise. They were just wanting to see how well each type of mask actually worked.
Mhm.
And published in prestigious medical journals that they put a guy that had COVID in a room and asked him to cough, and he coughed, and come to find out, this virus is so small that it passed right through the mask, and there was more COVID on the outside of the mask than there was on the inside of the mask. Because of how small that the virus is.
Sure.
I mean, we want to be afraid. We should have been afraid of AIDS.
Sure.
You know, the first time
Well, we
in our country's history that we've quarantined healthy people. We're all quarantined.
Mhm.
And it's egregious what they're doing to us, and it's over our whole nation. And they're passing these things down to us, taking away our liberties. Whenever they don't even follow the facts that are out there, don't even look at them, it seems like that this whole thing is trying to become communist. That's why we've got separation of powers.
Sure.
And so that we can, if the judicial gets crazy and starts ordering things that are mindless, really, then the legislative branch and the executive branch do something about it. So we're gonna have to contact our senators, representatives, congressmen, and see if we can't get our liberty back.
They're comparing us to New York City, we're out in West Texas.
Sure.
But even in New York City, the studies have shown that actually the new cases are from people quarantining in their house. 66% of them are in their own home being quarantined, and that's the ones with the new cases due to the HVAC systems or whatever. So quarantining in your home isn't really being effective.
And besides, if you quarantine someone that's got a fever and they're now, if they don't get medical help with that 14 days, they're gonna be at the worst stage of that virus and they are gonna die. And so not allowing doctors, or not these doctors being so afraid of this, fear is our worst enemy. And not treating patients when they first present with those symptoms, just send them home with a fever. I can't fathom what they're doing.
It's crazy.
It is.
It's all over the $90.
All right, so
It is.
that's what's possibly coming down, and I will give you more information as I have it. So,
Thanks for the warning.
absolutely. I didn't want it to happen and then spring that on you then, so I want you to be aware. All right, let's go on to our last item. Court to discuss and consider the scheduling and designation of roads identified as needing repair, reconstruction, and or renovation pursuant to the TxDOT Transportation Grant and the estimated cost associated therewith, including potential impact on the 2021 budget. So I've been talking to Angela about this for a while, about a month or so, and then you put an email about it out recently. So your road materials and construction, and then possibly machine hire, tires and tubes, fuel and maintenance repairs. I'm thinking that all may fit under that grant. Now, this is all contingent on if we get the grant, and I did get that sent to them today.
Thank you.
So thank you for reminding me.
Yes, sir.
So this is all contingent on if we get the grant in one aspect. There's another thought that I have that goes with this. So if we do get the grant, instead of using tax dollars, I'd like to use the grant dollars to fund as much of that as we can because we're going to be in an interesting situation. We don't know exactly where we are. If we kind of get the idea that this is kind of something we want to do now, we don't have to worry so much about it if we get the grant. If we say, yeah, well, this is where we want to go, we want to replace grant dollars with tax dollars, or tax dollars with grant dollars, then we're kind of ahead of the game on the budget. So, and this is something that, like I said, that we've been talking about for about a month now. I don't know exactly how much of the list fits into there that I've given to you, but the more we can do, the better off I think we would be. We have up to 5 years to use the grant, but I don't think we have to spread it all out over 5 years.
Right.
So if we can do something along these lines for the next at least couple of years, then I think that puts us ahead of the game. So some of the stuff that I'm going to be asking about is more information from me. I'm going to be asking some questions here in a minute. Curious how everything is calculated and what the process is, because I don't know what your process is. I don't know how y'all figure what you need for roads. If that's the way, that it's always been done, or if that's the best way, or if there's another way to calculate what we're doing. So, we've asked other departments to cut as much as they can in the past, and we're gonna ask them to toe the line this year as well. Roads are a huge expense, and if we can calculate as close as possible what expenses will be, I'd rather we end up right around really close to what what the budget is instead of over a bunch. So what I'm looking at, what I'm wondering is how many miles of road were done last year by each precinct? How many have been done in the last 3 years, and what's the average? And I'm not asking you to, well, I'm not asking you to give me this answer, but it's, you know, something that I'm thinking about. And I know you can't give me, they're not necessarily gonna be able to tell me what it is right now. And then what's the cost of a mile of Caliche Road to redo or to repair? And does that include the cost of materials, equipment, and man hours? How much does it cost to seal coat a mile? Are there plans to seal coat this year or next? And do you generally include seal coat materials in your budget each year? And how many seal coated roads are repaired and at what expense each year? That's a lot of information. I understand that, but it's some things that I think we need to think about. And I want to thank the foreman for coming in because that was my specific request, asking y'all to come in. Y'all are out there every day and you see what's what. Not that these guys don't. I know that they're all staying in contact with you on a regular basis and know what's going on. But if 2 heads are better than 1, 8 heads are better than 4, whatnot. So just some thoughts on that. That's what I'm looking for right now.
Yeah, so as a basis, we can certainly look at 4156 that was done 2 years ago with a 2014 CTIP. And according to Jim, Angela told him that it's around 280,000 was, and I'm not sure.
4156, is that China Grove?
Yes.
Okay.
4156, and was that the 80% or was that the entire amount?
We just did the 80%, but when I submitted everything, she counted the,
The 20?
yeah, she counted it because we did all the work. So we
So-
actually ended up with more grant money because they went towards the 20% went to the match.
But, I mean, as far as the total figure for that 3 miles of road.
It was that was the whole
So
amount
we're
with
looking at about
everything.
200, we're looking at about 90,000 a mile. That's to mill a road. That's to widen it. I think you widened it a foot or 2 foot on either side. And that's to double chip seal.
Wasn't there an extra thing with was it an intersection or something there?
He did put in 1 culvert. I'm not sure about,
Wasn't there something about one of the intersections over there?
Oh, the one on 208 is an intersection. It's on the intersection.
but that would be the state that would
Yeah,
do
that
that
was
for the
it, but there
first.
wasn't a deal when we were doing the project. I may be confusing this one with a different.
You may be, are you talking about, y'all had some issues with where the trucks go into the tanks, didn't you?
Dennis has some
I mean,
information.
it's been actually a couple of years that we did.
You know, they had to be referred.
Put 2 over 10 on the road.
We also laid 2 layers of caliche on the road, one from the local pit and one from Low Run.
Yeah.
Because we had to raise the road, so we had actually 2 3-inch or 4-inch lifts of caliche.
And that's a new road, right? Or redoing the road?
That's a
Rebuilding it.
complete redo. Yes, we built it.
Yeah.
And widened it.
Right.
They added the cleat
Yeah.
and then double chip sealed.
That was 3 miles.
And that was about 90,000 a mile,
Okay.
a little over 90.
How often do we rebuild a road like that?
Well, there's several roads that need to be rebuilt right now. Jim's got 8 miles that needs to be rebuilt, just like that,
We've got to,
just on that one road.
56 out to 8 holes.
Right, but typically in a year, how many do we rebuild?
In precinct 1, we really don't, except for Ennis Creek being an exception because the wind farms, and we're supposed to, and I say supposed to, be reimbursed by them.
Right.
As Craig was on his road.
Yeah.
Now, that money's not there, so we don't know what we're gonna get, for sure. Whenever I dealt with Invenergy, we had about 6 miles there, and they paid me 240,000 miles for that single chip seal, which his was a lot worse. He would redid the road completely, right? And so a totally different,
We hadn't done it yet.
yeah, that's what we're talking about now.
What you're going to.
And so, just to get an average of what it might cost, number one, for Jim to redo 4156 for the 8 miles that are left, you're still looking about the same type of work, right? So you're talking about 90,000 a mile, right there.
That's on,
$720,000.
that's on the chip seal road.
That is a complete redo, just like we did on the 3 miles 2 years ago.
Okay, what about the ones that are not chip sealed?
Okay, so, now a single chip seal is, you've got to come back to your single chip seal, where that's where we have been wanting to, and we need to seal all those roads every 5 to 6 years.
Sure.
And we haven't done that because whenever we received this back in our laps, which we wanted it, out of the unitized system, there was no money in reserve.
Sure.
And so we have not done those chip seals, and we've done like fog seals to try to save that pavement, but it's getting to where that's not working any longer.
Sure.
And we're going to have to start chip sealing. We chip seal about 10 miles per year. So all in, back in 2007, I was quoted whenever I was trying to figure out how much to charge Infinity for chip seal and us to do the work. A construction company out of Big Spring told me $6 per square yard. That's $80,000 a mile.
Okay.
Just for a single chip seal on a 20-foot road.
Right.
Um,
I know that chip seal roads deteriorate as well, but caliche roads deteriorate a whole lot faster.
Oh my goodness, we've got one that we're reclinching and remilling in every, depending on how much traffic we get and how much traffic. We're doing that every 2 weeks,
Sure.
a lot of times. Ted has worked more on that one road than we have on any of our others.
Right. So I guess what I'm asking is how many miles of those caliche roads do y'all do? Because we know how much it's gonna be for the chip seal roads.
So we're figuring about $30,000 to $40,000 to do 4-inch gravel. And this again, it depends on where you're getting it from, because your diesel is your greatest cost.
Sure.
And so if you're getting it out of Lorraine and you're in precinct 2 or precinct 1, you're hauling a long way.
Right, and
We've
that's
got,
what
we've got our local pits that we're getting it out of. So then you've got to figure in the charge of pushing it. You've got to figure in the cost of loading it, hauling it, whatever the distance might be. And that's where most of your cost is in diesel fuel, then laying it down with your motor grader.
All right, so 30 to 40,000 per mile.
And that's all in, that's labor, diesel, everything. Now, I'm just putting numbers out there, and these are numbers that I've kind of looked at that I think is a good average, and we can use those numbers or we can talk about it. If anybody else has got any ideas, Foreman included, as to the costs of total labor, machinery, hauling materials, and everything, please say so. But all we have to do as we privatize these roads is to come up with more than the grant. The grant's 2.8, right? A little over that.
Right.
But we want to go way over that, maybe $1 million, over $2 million, doesn't matter. Because whatever averages that we put in there, according to the phone call I was on with these guys, whenever you start doing the work, then you figure out using FEMA for equipment, FEMA for man hours, your cost of materials, and things like that, then we can figure out the actual costs.
Sure.
And so we change that, just like we can change the scheduling.
So we
for
So
those roads.
you said figure out the actual cost, so we don't know the actual cost right now?
Oh, absolutely not. No, you don't know the actual cost. I mean, you can get close, and that's what we're trying to do,
Yeah.
is average it.
Yeah.
You can get close, so I can tell you exactly well, it depends on the waste.
Sure.
I can tell you by taking what it takes to put, let's say if you're using 14 pounds of rock on a road, you can figure that. If you're putting 38 tenths of a gallon per square yard on a road, I can figure that. But then you've got to take in your labor. So how long is it gonna take? Well, it depends on the distance. It depends on where you got your materials at. It depends on how far you're hauling. So no, I can't give you for an average road, but I can tell you that it's gonna cost, with everything all in, it's gonna cost $30,000 to $40,000 to do a gravel road if you put 4 inches of gravel down. I mean, that's just an estimate.
Sure, I understand that. Do y'all know about how many miles y'all do each year?
We would do, if we were doing like we were before the unitized system, we would do 10 miles per precinct every year. Right, guys?
And that's seal coat.
That's still good.
Right.
That's not even considering the.
Not when you're seal coating, I'm talking the Caliche road.
Okay, so, we did 1121. We've done 4131 2 times. We have done 1105 at the far end for 8 miles. This is in the last 3 years. You're continuously doing that, and what we're seeing is, of course, the more of this traffic that we get in here, which we're not getting as much now, right? But you see oil is stabilized, looks like, I don't know what it is today, but over the last 3 or 4 days, it's been $25, $26 a WTI.
Okay. So each year we have to certify what we've done, correct?
No,
What is it that we have to turn in each year?
we're turning in, and you're talking about the road report.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're certifying
Yeah.
that these are our roads. These roads are a 1 through a 5.
Okay.
And 1 being poor and 5 being excellent.
Okay.
And so we're saying what they are. Most of mine are 3s.
Yeah.
There's work that needs to be done on them.
Sure.
They may need to be fog sealed. They may need their shoulders pulled. They may need to be widened a little bit. They may need if it's on a Caliche road, it may need potholes repaired or on a paved road.
Sure.
And so there's just regular maintenance that we're doing on those all the time.
Sure.
You know, that we're mowing. I
Right.
mean,
Yeah. What we're doing,
you can over a 10-year period, you get a good average of what you're doing. Sure.
I'm not talking about 10 years, because, but in 10 years, that's.
It's different every year.
Sure, I understand, but you do it over a period of time. If you have the last 3 years, what you've done, you can have an average of what is roughly what you're going to do
That's
each
what I'm
year.
saying, the last 3 years is not average. They are trying, we're not doing that work in order to try to build up enough money in our reserves to do the work.
Okay.
We have got to get back, if you want to know what we've got to do going forward, starting this year, or we're gonna lose our pavements, is to 10 miles per precinct, chip seal, for sure. But then, because of this traffic, Jim has roads that are absolutely going to have to be completely an overdo, just like they did 2 years ago.
Sure.
And so that's outside that 40 miles.
Okay.
So that's an additional 8 miles that you're looking at $90,000 a mile. We already know from the previous time, and it depends on the cost of asphalt and diesel.
It's gonna go up.
Of course, diesel's cheaper right now. Asphalt's not gonna be cheaper because these guys have already bought their asphalt.
Sure.
And we've already got their bids, and we know what it's gonna be.
Sure.
But next year, it's possible if oil stays cheap, that asphalt will be even cheaper. But it's really not those things that affect us so much as it is the cost of hauling.
Okay, so I have a question then. You're saying you would do 10 miles of road each year?
Yes,
Is that what you said? Okay,
per precinct.